The Honourable Chris
Mr Robertson, who's just resumed his seat, who made a contribution that wasn't really complicated by any merit, because if you read Schedule 1, Clause 5, and the member carefully went through Clause 5 and went through Subclause 3, Paragraph A, but omitted to refer to Subparagraph B, or in the circumstances of the case, the Commissioner considers it would be inequitable to include all or part of the land or interest. The point is, for Mr Robertson's benefit, is that the provision is of long standing. It was in the Legal Services Act 1991. It was also in the 2000 reform when he was running around after Helen on the 9th floor. So, you're in New York then, sorry. But the fact of the matter is it was in the Legal Services Act. The member does get around, I must say I'm proud of that. But it was contained in the Legal Services Act 2000. So, as I say, it's an unmeritorious point. The safeguards are there to ensure that no injustice is done to Maori.
Chairman,
Paul Quinn.
the question be now put.
Point of order.
Mr Chairman, it just goes to the simple question of the ordering of calls. You've had a call from the government that always the normal thing is then to look to the opposition.
I did indicate before I'd take one more call. When I asked the member behind you to take a call, I said I'd take one more call, and the Minister said he'd like to respond to some of the questions. So the member has put the question be now put, and I intend to put that...
No, Mr Chairman.
Point of order, Honourable Trevor Mallett.
Mr Chairman, the precedents again on this are absolutely clear. If there is a debate from the Minister, there has always, on every single occasion that I've been here, there's been the opportunity to respond. Calls alternate across the House.
I hear what the member says. It's a matter of discretion of the Chair. I have chosen, because I indicated when the previous member spoke, that I would be taking one more call, which was Grant Robertson. The Minister then responded to some of the questions that have been asked, and I've accepted the point that the point of order from Paul Quinn, and the question is... Charles Chevelle.
In respect of that ruling, I wonder whether it would be appropriate for the committee to seek further assistance, and I move that the Speaker be recalled to consider that ruling, because, as my colleague Mr Mallard has said, it is the usual practice of the House when the Minister has taken a call to invite responses.
Thank you. The question is that the Speaker be recalled. Those are that... No. We have a motion here which I've accepted. The question is that the Speaker be recalled. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The Speaker will be recalled.
Do I move?
Yeah.
Mr Chairman.
Mr Speaker, you have been recalled by the Labour opposition on the basis that I prematurely accepted a closure motion when the previous Speaker, before accepting the closure motion, was the Minister. I had indicated prior to the Minister speaking that I would take one more call, which went to a Labour member. This debate has gone on for an hour and 15 minutes, and there have been 12 opposition calls in this debate and one government call, I believe that accepting the closure motion, that is a prerogative of the chair, and I acted accordingly, having first indicated that I would take one more call, which was given to Labor at the time, and then the Minister, he responded to some of the questions which previous opposition members had brought, and he responded to that. I believe that by accepting the closure motion, it was the chair's discretion to do so, and I acted accordingly.
I call Charles Savell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the chairman for his very fair summary of the matters that related to the motion leading to your recall, sir. Sir, the reason for seeking a definitive ruling from the Speaker on this matter was that the circumstances of the debate were that, as the chairman has indicated, he did indicate that there would be one call remaining. But after that call, the Minister chose to take a further call in reply. And it's clear from the matters that were raised in the Minister's reply that new matters were raised in respect of which members on this side of the House wished to deal by way of further reply. Mr. Speaker, the Chair failed in my submission to give the opposition the entitlement to take a call in response to the new matters raised by the Minister. And indeed, there wasn't even a reference by the Chair to the opposition attempts to seek a call, simply a nod to the government member who sought the closure motion. So, sir, in my submission, it would be certainly consistent with precedent and normal practice, good practice on behalf of the committee and the House, if in the circumstances that I've described, a right of reply were acknowledged to the matters that were raised in the Minister's address.
Point of order. I call Chris Tremaine.
Just in speaking to the point of order, Mr. Speaker, the members on the other side of the House have failed to raise any particular standing order or Speaker's ruling which they refer to as a precedence for this, in my opinion, unnecessary recalling of the Speaker. I believe that the Chair at the time had indicated quite fairly about how he would proceed with the process, and then proceeded to use his discretion, as he quite rightly has in this process. And I'd ask that you rule on this matter.
Call the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
I think there are a couple of matters, and without wanting to be too critical of the chair today, I'd like to make as a first submission a chairman saying that he is prejudiced about a further contribution from a Labor member, as he did before that member gave that contribution, because he is required to consider a closure on its merits and based on the contribution that had come from the previous member, not to indicate that effectively no matter what is said, he will only hear one more. My submission, sir, that is not appropriate, because the relevance of what is said by the member and the matters that are brought up by the member who is to speak are matters which should be considered, and to indicate only one more will be taken. The Chair might have thought he was being generous in giving the Labor Party another call, I think indicated a prejudging of a matter which was not yet before him. So the point that I would like to make is that while there's no doubt that the Chair can call anyone that he wants when he is in the Chair, when we're not in a set piece ordered debate where the order from the Business Committee has been set, the practice in the House has been very long standing in the committee of the House, is where there are members calling from alternate sides of the House, the practice is to alternate the call. Now, the Speaker, I can accept the Chairman has the right not to do that, because he can call anyone that he likes, but the custom and practice of this House, Mr. Speaker, has been to alternate calls, and certainly I don't think I've ever seen in the time that I've been in the House a movement where there are 4 or 5 opposition members going for the call, a movement straight from a minister who made a controversial comment and one which a number of members opposite think contained an error, go straight from that minister in the chair to someone who was a designated hitter, if you like, as far as the closure motion was concerned. So, sir, I think there are a couple of matters for consideration, but from my perspective, there are, in just restating them, one is whether, in fact, there should be an indication of prejudice as to the number of further calls on the part of the Speaker, which means that he's effectively not prepared to take into account what is being said by members, and secondly, whether the normal custom and practice of the House of alternating calls should be breached in this particular way.
It's unusual, I know, but there's been a number of comments made about the Chair, and I wondered if the Chair would like to make any further comments themselves.
Mr Speaker, I don't believe by indicating to the opposition that I'd accept one more call as prejudicing what might be said at a later date. As I indicated earlier, there were 12 calls by opposition members and one government call. The debate has gone for well over an hour, and I believe that I acted with discretion and to seek a closure motion following the Minister was right and proper, and I acted accordingly.
Sorry, Mr Speaker, I think I'm now getting really anxious because the idea... Mr Chair, Mr Speaker.
I haven't called the member yet.
Sorry. Mr Speaker.
I call the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, the thing I'm really getting anxious about now was the indication from the Chairman that he sought a closure motion. The Chairman should never seek a... Sorry, I think that's what you said.
No.
Sorry, what did he say?
We're not having a debate about
Well, sorry, I don't want to debate. That's what I thought that the Chairman had said, that he sought a closure motion, and that of course, would be very wrong.
No. Chairman said...
I never sought a closure motion. Government members were moving closure motions on many occasions, which I didn't accept. Mr Quinn moved a closure motion. I looked at Mr Quinn, and Mr Quinn, I accepted his closure motion. That's when the honourable member first brought up a point of order, and subsequently the point of order by Charles Chevelle to recall the Speaker. I didn't seek a closure motion. It's not my role to seek a closure motion.
I apologise to the Chairman. I'm sorry, I thought that he said something that he obviously didn't say, and I do apologise because I think I reflected on his integrity, and that would be wrong, and I think we know that, I hope the Chairman knows that we think he's a person of utmost integrity.
Well, thank you. I would hope that was what the member was thinking, because I certainly didn't hear the member, the Chair, say that he sought a closure motion, not what I heard him say, and I'm pleased we've clarified that. Can I start off by saying that it is entirely usual for the debate to flow backwards and forwards and for a cause to be taken from one side to the other, and that is a long-standing practice. However, having said that, the rules are really clear. Who gets the next call is the sole discretion of the Chair. No one else, and it's not a matter for which there can be any correspondence entered into. It's the Chair's sole discretion, and that must always remain. The second is that if the members go through the standing orders and Speaker's rulings, you will see that the overwhelmingly Speakers previously have ruled that the Chair is the sole judge as to whether or not there ought to be a motion of closure put to the House. Well, I just want to make sure that that's the Chair's sole discretion, and no Speaker has overruled a Chair on that, and this Speaker is not. So I just want to make it clear that's the chairperson's decision, and it also has been that the Chair is the person who sits and listens to the ebb and flow of the debate, and is the person who is best placed to see whether or not the House is of a mind to accept a closure. And a closure is not the Chair's decision, it's the House's decision. Now, we all know that there is, whilst that may be the rules, the reality is usually somewhat different. And the consequences, we know, if a closure motion is not accepted, that flow from that as well. So it's unlikely that a government will vote against its own closure motion. I accept that. And I want to say to members that as far as the Speaker's